Hey, it's been a minute. This is part 3 of our 4-part series on rockumentary filmmaking. Check out the other 2 parts up here, wherever you can find them. But yeah, let's just get into it. The mid-20th century is often remembered in a North American context for its counterculturalism and free-spirited attitude, which manifested itself in the music of its time. In an age where political activism and psychedelic or otherworldly experiences grew in popularity, it was fitting that bands and artists aligned with those subcultures and thus became symbols of them. The likes of psychedelic rock and folk in particular emerged as genres through which these cultures were molded and celebrated. Amid these social and artistic developments, however, a binary of questions emerged for artists of the time. Was this union merely in an effort to sell records and merchandise, or was this relationship instead thought to give the music more meaning, regardless of how much money it made? Of course, these forms of escapism in a pre-internet age had to have some relation to physical space, so in this regard, musical concerts and festivals naturally occupied a middle ground in fulfilling both of these consumptive and communicative roles set out by the music industry writ large. So how are these roles shaped by performative spaces, and what do these locations reveal about the times and performances which audiences lived through and saw? Well, in an effort to explore this gray area, 2 musical concerts in particular, the 1969 Woodstock Music Festival and Pink Floyd's 1971 concert in Pompeii, ostensibly oppose one another with regards to how scope was employed in conveying meaning. On one hand, Woodstock's roughly 400,000 spectators coexisted on the same field, participating in this drugged-out celebration of love, music, and life itself. On the other hand, Pink Floyd, in being surrounded by film equipment, ruinous artifacts, and 0 live spectators, plays with themes of demise and plays for a departure from the real. As was typical for the time, the medium of rockumentary filmmaking captured both of these concerts for a film viewing audience. The resulting works, Woodstock and Pink Floyd Live at Pompeii, present a utopia and dystopia respectively through the performative spaces in which the concerts took place. These landscapes not only frame artistry as central in curating these realities, but also foreshadow an opposing future to what is presented on the surface. Where I think Woodstock's carefreeness is actually abandoned, Pompeii's loneliness to me is left optimistic. In the following essay, I will compare elements of mise-en-scène and score across both films in an effort to uncover to what extent the concert rockumentary can portray locale as an agent of social change. In looking at Woodstock first, the film and the festival at large attempted to curate social change through the development of its own countercultural society. Concertgoers and performers lived on the same grounds, a large field, and ate the same food, all for free. Moreover, people listened to the same music, took the same drugs, and swam naked in the same bodies of water. The connection of people back to nature, to music, and to one another provided a taste of a life free of everyday stresses. Of course, the sheer number of people and changes in the weather presented several challenges for the film crew to capture, so varied uses of technology allowed for many options with regard to filming. For example, a camera pit between the musicians and audiences yielded consistent performance shots. In addition, handheld film equipment was employed in capturing interviews and wider angles of the entire event. Woodstock seems to juggle this blissful chaos through a multi-camera setup, which, when edited to expose audiences to 2 or 3 images at once, provides a comprehensive look at the working utopia neighboring the filmmakers. This resulting sensory overload, in theory, had potential to be distracting or to take away from the messages central to the text. The film, however, offers images whose compositions and color palettes nicely complement one another, thus allowing the film's triptych structure and presentation to enhance the positive messaging rather than take away from it. Let's switch gears for a minute. Repeated wide shots of the crowd render security and unity as driving thematic forces of the text. How the film subverts this by the end, however, is in showcasing the humans' impact on the setting after the festival has concluded. Audiences are exposed to an endless sea of mud and garbage placed in contrast to the once lively and populated field. The juxtaposition of these images conclude the film, putting into perspective the fact that the festival and its accompanying ideologies could not have survived outside of this euphoric retreat. The text's message of distrust and disbelief here further extends into part of the festival's set list. One song in particular, Country Joe McDonald's I Feel Like I'm Fixing to Die rag, supports fighting in the contentious Vietnam War and actually welcomes the prospect of dying. Though it is only one song in a 4+ hour film, it's interesting that it's the only song in the film to have lyrics at the bottom inviting audience participation. In a similar, albeit more heartbreaking fashion, there's a short interview during the film with this Port-au-Saint repairman who directly confronts the established peace and love attitude of this festival by further highlighting the impacts the war has had on American lives and his own family. With these abrupt shifts in tone, Woodstock now becomes an escape from reality rather than a new reality altogether. But here's the thing, if Woodstock as a film was omitted from popular culture, there would at least be barren farmland to show for it, and a number of people who could recount their lived experiences at the festival. In contrast, Pink Floyd Live at Pompeii had 0 live spectators, and thus relies on the medium of film in sharing the memory of this concert and proving that it did in fact happen. It begs the question, does a concert really occur if no one's there to hear it? Well, Pompeii's relation to human decay and isolation offers this very fitting backdrop in hosting Pink Floyd's reverberated soundscapes and addressing this question of legacy. Pink Floyd Live at Pompeii attempted to curate social change through the presentation of a possible future, this unnerving reality devoid of human agency and human life. Ruins encircle the band in the film's opening and closing crane shots, both establishing and concluding the work as bound to or trapped by its surroundings. Moreover, the splicing of day and night footage removes any sense of time and normalcy within the setting altogether. It's not like the band members help to fix this, they too expand on this ambiguity by showcasing little effort when moving and communicating. Their lyrics are spaced out and vague, which, when underscored by each track's echoing composition, further reflects this very still mode of presentation. Now yes, while on its surface the content and location of the concert are apocalyptic and desolate, I believe the repeated use of natural imagery embeds within the text a hidden theme of hope or contentment. The film is not simply ruinous to me, as shots of skulls and artifacts are intercut with shots of geysers, volcanoes, and mountains. In addition, the camera fixates on drummer Nick Mason, whose activity when playing renders his physical presence far more lively than that of the other band members. Silhouetted figures hitting gongs, the band members traversing the natural landscapes, and speakers reading Pink Floyd London all mark a new chapter kind of akin to a flag on the moon. These more explosive images, in tandem with various shots revealing the film's own production and equipment, allow for an introduction and memorialization of new life into the space. The film ends the same way it begins, yet the wonder of this setting and the timelessness of this score render the penultimate shot far more optimistic than its predecessor. Oh man, let's wrap it up here. So through varying uses of location, Woodstock and Pink Floyd Live at Pompeii become texts which frame artistic expression and performative spaces as central to their constructed versions of humanity. From Woodstock's happy-go-lucky legions of spectators to Pompeii's jagged ruins, both performative spaces kind of imprison their artists and present a possible future for the world. In defiance of expectations brought about by space, however, Pink Floyd ultimately has confidence in the world and its people, as Woodstock curates a fear for it. Novel elements of score and mise-en-scène, including the crossing of an abandoned land and the commentary on the Vietnam War, allow for these films and artists to become one with nature or just abandon nature entirely. Honestly, either way you look at it, both sets of filmmakers harnessed the medium of rockumentary filmmaking and the spaces in which the concerts took place as modes of preserving and sharing these principles. Thanks for watching. Oh man, if you want to see more videos like this one, check out the other 2 rockumentary videos I've done. There's one more part in this series I have yet to upload, so stay tuned for that. Like and subscribe if you haven't done that already, and yeah, thanks for watching guys. Have a good one.
Good.